And we do now want to bring in Arizona Congressman Andy Biggs, who chairs the House Freedom Caucus and is a member of the Judiciary Committee. Good morning, Congressman. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Good to be with you.
You did hold a press conference this morning with fellow Republicans Mark Meadows and Jody Hice speaking out against Nancy Pelosi's move to withhold these articles of impeachment from the Senate. Do you think her decision hurts the Democrats the longer she holds on to those articles?
Yeah, I really do, because they don't forget, let the sham impeachment go, let the paucity of evidence go. But one thing that Nancy Pelosi and Adam Schiff and the Democrats said repeatedly was that removal of this president is urgent and that they must proceed with exigency. That's why they weren't doing things like going to court, trying to enforce subpoenas. That's why they weren't going to do any of the normal procedures that you would see in an impeachment proceeding, is because it was urgent. And then once they conducted their vote, she's holding on to them. She put the articles of impeachment right in her drawer, and she's trying to control what happens in the Senate, I guess. But the bottom line is that's the real problem, is she's been hypocritical on this.
Congressman, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell said Tuesday that he has the votes to proceed on the trial without calling for any witnesses, but they could still consider witnesses at a later date. That vote, of course, would go against a request from Minority Leader Chuck Schumer. This comes after former NSA John Bolton said that he would testify if he were subpoenaed. Do you want to see Bolton speak under oath about this issue?
Well, you know, I'm not sure what Secretary Bolton could add to this too much. I mean, the reality is what Bolton said, to be very specific. He said he is prepared to testify. He didn't say that necessarily he would come on in without a subpoena. So he's prepared to come in and testify. And I would suspect that his testimony would be pretty reflective of what we've already heard. That is to say, President Trump was holding up the aid to Ukraine, but that there was no quid pro quo. And the second thing that would be critical to come out, that I think Bolton would testify to, is that the aid was released by law on time per the appropriations process that gave the authority to the president to actually release the funds. He had actually another 3 or 4 weeks he could have held it up, but he didn't.
There's a proposal being floated by Senator Josh Hawley specifically to file a motion to dismiss the articles of impeachment against President Trump if Nancy Pelosi doesn't send those articles over to the upper chamber within 25 days. What's your thought on that proposal? Is it constitutional at this point?
Yeah, I think it is constitutional. Don't forget that one was done by Senator Byrd in the Clinton impeachment. So Josh Hawley could actually bring that, but he doesn't have the votes. Quite frankly, it's a Pyrrhic victory to file that motion. He's making a good solid point, because he's underscoring the lack of evidence, but he doesn't have the votes, probably because you need Democrats to defect. You need 67 votes to get that motion to dismiss, and that won't happen either.
Congressman, in your opinion, is it better for President Trump for the Senate to vote to dismiss the articles of impeachment against him, or to acquit him on the charges brought by the House?
Well, I think that it'd be better at this point to go ahead and start a proceeding. I think Mitch McConnell has said that he's going to do this according to the Clinton model, which received a unanimous vote, and that is to go ahead and start and let the House managers come over and present their case, and then at that point you could vote to proceed or not. I think that's the more appropriate way to do this, and I think that the American people want this over and done with. I think the president wants it over and done with. I know the members of Congress are like, Nancy Pelosi, please submit, because we need to get this thing over and done with, because we have a lot of work to do that we haven't been able to do because we've been focused on this impeachment for so long.
Switching gears real quick, we are also, of course, continuing to follow developments out of the Middle East after Iran launched missile strikes on air bases which house U.S. troops in Iraq Tuesday night. President Trump said to be addressing the nation in about 20-ish minutes. Do you believe that he should escalate the fight against Iran?
Well, I think that first of all, the Soleimani attack was justified. Even Jay Johnson, former Democrat Secretary of Homeland Security, said that he was a legitimate target. I think Iran's reaction to that shows that they may not be in the mood to escalate this either. I mean, you've got some moderates in their leadership that are, I'm sure, saying, look, we don't want our harbors destroyed, we don't want our nuclear facilities destroyed, our energy facilities, and we don't want our oil facilities destroyed either. So I'm sure that they could have hit some targets if they really wanted to. So I'm not sure that this is the moment to necessarily escalate. I think this is the moment to perhaps exit that path and see if we can find some way to get Iran to understand that they better quit targeting Americans and see if we can de-escalate this situation.
What message for Americans are you expecting to hear from President Trump when he addresses the nation?
But I think what he's going to say is what I think is the case, and the case he's made all along, is that the Soleimani attack was justified, that he's going to do anything he can to protect American lives and American sovereignty throughout the world. He's made that very clear. I think he's also going to say to Iran, if you kill Americans, you will pay the price. President Trump will also talk, I believe, about his patience and restraint as in the last 18 months, Iran actually escalated acts of war against the United States, including attacking our embassy in Iraq, where proxies of Hezbollah that are proxies for the Iranian Kurds were attacking our embassy. We got them to stand down. And the main thing is, when you kill American lives, kill Americans, and you attack our sovereignty, there will be a swift response. But President Trump is reticent to get us enmeshed further in a war in that country. I think he's going to talk about the restraint that he had, and I do believe he exercised tremendous restraint until Iraqis actually took out an American on the last part of December.
Real quickly, Esper, Pompeo, Milley is set to be briefing the full House and full Senate today on that intel that led to that strike on Soleimani. What are you expecting to hear from them?
Well, I expect that there won't be much different than what we've been hearing in the public domain about the things that you and I have just been talking about with regard to the escalation that's been going up. I think that we might hear something, though, a little bit more specific that's not in the public domain yet, about the threats that Soleimani was preparing to attack U.S. targets and take more U.S. lives. And so, I mean, this is why you get consensus from somebody like Jay Johnson that Soleimani was a legitimate target. He was already designated a terrorist, and he was already killing Americans. And to prevent further loss of life, I expect Pompeo and Milley to give us that kind of explanation today. All
right, Arizona Congressman Andy Biggs joining us live there from Capitol Hill. Thanks so much for speaking with me this morning, Congressman.
Thank you. Good to be with you always.
Want to see more videos like this? Click on the link below and subscribe to One American News on YouTube, and call your cable provider and kindly demand that One American News is added to your lineup. Call and subscribe today.